AITA for telling my girlfriend to use her brain? So, a bit of backstory. My girlfriend once used my nice kitchen knife to open a coconut. Lo and behold, the knife ended up disfigured and ruined. It was a funny moment which I blew off. I recently bought new knife replacements and she decided to use one of them to open super glue and cut the tip off. I ended up finding the knife on the kitchen chopping board with glue all stuck to it and the chopping board. Obviously I'm pissed the knives are a week old. I comment saying it was careless and stupid. Visibly frustrated. Then I said next time use your brain. She clearly got upset at this comment and then decides to ignore me for the rest of the day. I try to move past it and make us lunch but she continues to act the same way. I make a comment saying I know you're pissed about what I said but let's move on. Refuses to move on. Wake up this morning and she wants to talk about what happened. Tells me you're not going to like what I'm going to say and proceeds to compare me with her father and calls me abusive. I think it's totally unwarranted and unfair. But AITA? Welcome to I'm an asshole. Please view our voting guide here, and remember to use only one judgment in your comment. Has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I may be the asshole for saying what I said. It was punishing her for a silly mistake. Help keep the sub engaging. Don't downvote assholes. Do upvote interesting posts. Click here for our rules and click here for our FAQ. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. His Holiness the Poop, 1286. ESH. She should have thought that through, but you did choose words that were especially demeaning. Isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, will get the glue off your knife. I try to move past it. I make a comment saying I know you're pissed about what I said but let's move on. Did you actually say sorry? Sorry doesn't always mean I'm 100% to blame for this. It can also mean I didn't mean to hurt you. Can I just say that next time use your brain absolutely pales in comparison to you're not going to like what I'm going to say. You're abusive just like my dad. One was said in the heat of anger and frustration, the other was carefully composed and thought out of in the space of an entire day, during which she was giving him the cold treatment. She calculated one of the most devastating things she could say, and preambled it with "this will hurt you but I'm doing it anyway." That is so wrong. And were the genders reversed I'm not sure the comments would be as forgiving of her as they are. Participant 4. A practical suggestion added to this: invest in 2 or 3 cheap scissors for the kitchen. 2 or 3 because from self-experience, you always look for scissors in the kitchen. So I have 3, in different drawers to make sure I always find at least one of them works. Otherwise I am always tempted to use one of the knives. But since I have my scissors collection in the kitchen, my knives can live their knife life in peace. I was a little on the fence until I read it the second time. After using the knife to cut open the glue, she just left it all sitting out in the counter. To me that shows more than just a passing lapse of judgment. She's careless with other people's belongings. What you said was not abusive. So her comparing you to her abusive father was completely unnecessary and makes me wonder if her father was actually abusive or just had expectations for her to generally do better and clean up after herself. Not to mention I would consider you're acting like my abusive father more abusive than use your brain. She obviously made a mistake that upset him. Yes, he needs to apologize for what he said, but she doesn't seem to show any guilt for ruining his knives. Twice. The second time she left it sitting with super glue on it, on a cutting board. Like that's completely irresponsible and shows me she has no respect for other people's things. Everyone knows how super glue works and to be careful with it. Yet she decided to call him abusive, which seems like gaslighting to me. But I haven't seen that word brought up yet in these comments. She just left it all sitting out in the counter. Thank you for emphasizing this part. Made me lean towards Auntie A too. I know it's classic Reddit to jump to break up, but this would be a sign of incompatibility for me. Up to op if it's something they can live with or not. I wouldn't be able to live forever with someone who leaves things to get worse. This is like leaving dirty dishes until they're crusted and harder to clean to the extreme. She sounds like she likes the drama if she can't let go of that small comment, and now wants to dwell on it. Also, comparing you to an abuser is blowing that comment out of proportion to an incredible degree. You can't criticize her, but she can insult you. Good luck, mate. BTW, I would have told my BF to replace my knives the first time he ruined them. Asshole enthusiast. 9. Anti-A. Your girlfriend has consistently disrespected your property which you paid for and has not exercised her brain. People on here are saying you have been abusive. I disagree. You're rightly fed up of her disrespecting your property and costing you money in the process. If she's adult enough to have a boyfriend and to use a sharp knife, she is adult enough to know what knives are used for. There is a lot to unpack here, but you clearly have some old feelings about the first knife that you should have brought up when it happened. It's not terribly fair of you to bring that resentment into this new issue. Admittedly, she definitely repeated the same behavior and doesn't understand that she is clearly using an expensive tool poorly, which is why she is duh. I get it, you are frustrated, but this is someone you like, love. So insulting and belittling them really should not be an avenue you pursue. I know you're pissed, but let's try to move past this. Is not an apology, which is definitely what you should be doing, and honestly as a married man I can tell you definitely dug you a deeper hole. Also, a bit of advice: super glue can be removed with acetone, but it will take off the protective coating of the cutting board if it's a nice wood one. Colorectal surgeon, 35. Hard disagree with the first part of your post. He said he laughed off the first time it happened, but presumably he did let her know that she had ruined his nice knife. It is completely reasonable and justified to be pissed off when someone carelessly destroys something of yours a second time after giving them a pass on it once because they didn't know any better. That's not resentment over the first time it happened, it's anger that they didn't learn anything from the first time it happened. I disagree with you saying that this is a separate issue. This is the second time within the span of a week that she has destroyed someone's property, let alone the replacement for the property that she broke the first place. It wasn't a mistake because she had left the knife out long enough for the glue to dry and for the knife to be stuck to the board. That isn't an accident, that is the result of her carelessness for other people's things. Was he in the wrong for saying that she wasn't using her brain? Yes. Does that make him tough for being frustrated over something completely avoidable? Not in my opinion. Also, it is kind of manipulative of her to call him out for being abusive when she is way more in the wrong here. She made his property unusable for the time being due to her negligence. She ignored him when he called her out for her negligence instead of explaining like a grown-up that she didn't want to talk to him for the time being, and then she compared him to someone who for all we know could have beaten her. Participant 1. This is the best reasoning that calling someone stupid or telling them to use their brain can be so hurtful. If my husband were to say those things to me, I would probably be holding back tears. Also, she may just be clueless as to what is and isn't expected for knife use. We're all raised differently. Maybe she isn't used to having expensive knives. Is she doing it with malicious intent? Probably not, if Op thinks just using her brain would stop her from doing it. So really Op is the main op. At this point I've apologized properly, but she refuses to accept the apologies. I apologized for what I said and for punishing her for a mistake. She continues to stay upset and refuses to move past. I left the house as I don't believe I deserve to be treated this way. I accept I didn't handle the situation well, however, ignoring me for 24 hours? How is that okay? We are both assholes. Question: should I show her this thread? Risky man. Colorectal surgeon, 35. Assuming you've been completely honest about the situation, speaking as someone who has been in a relationship with someone with an abusive father, it sounds like there's a deeper issue here with her being hypersensitive to criticism. It's a really common reaction for people who grew up in emotionally abusive homes where they were constantly criticized but never constructively. And jumping from "you said something kind of mean" to "you're just like my abuser" is exactly how that presents. Obviously, I don't know very much about your relationship, so this is pure speculation, but if that's a common theme in your relationship, then this situation isn't really about the knife or the one comment you made. I wouldn't show her this thread. We're getting one story here and she might get more defensive and hurt. Just give each other some space and time to cool off, and then maybe you can talk about it in a bit. People say she's manipulative, but there's plenty of other reasons. She mentioned her father, which makes me wonder if he called her stupid as she grew up. I know certain words, tones would set me off, upset me before I had extensive therapy. Either way, I think you can both work on this. But you need patience and communication. Has your girlfriend ever seen a therapist, or is currently seeing one? She's absolutely overreacting, but she's also already told you it reminded her of past trauma. While I don't think it's fair of her to compare you to her father, it sounds like this incident triggered something bad for her and she's just not dealing with it well. Not excusing her behavior at all, you're right in saying you don't deserve this treatment. Skip right to the part where you terminate the relationship. You're either involved with someone who doesn't give a damn about you and your property, or someone with no common sense, or both. Either way, it's not going to get better. She destroyed your property. She did not apologize for doing so or buy new knives and a cutting board. She attempted to hide it from you the second time. She then attempted to manipulate you emotionally and turn the blame on you, and you fell for it. Look into the future and decide whether you want to continue living like this. You have gone over and beyond now. She damaged 2 knives. One and you want to replace one she damaged. She does need to use her brain more. She needs to reflect. Instead, she is playing victim so that you ignore the fact that she has damaged 2 items by being totally reckless and not even had the decency to figure out what she had done and apologized or replace them. You are not compatible. This is ridiculous. She ruined something of yours. Again, you reacted maybe poorly but far more tame than the majority of people. And now she gets to be mad at you to the point you have to leave your house. She's gaslighting you. And if she doesn't apologize and talk through the situation with you like an adult, I'd consider leaving. It seems like you're not the one mirroring her abusive father in this situation. Dude, she doesn't sound worth it. I'm 30F who has lived through an abusive relationship, and what you said was not abuse. Regardless of what others say, you rightfully criticized her behavior. You didn't insult her intelligence. She was embarrassed and didn't want to own her mistake. There's no reason for you to apologize for calling out the fact that she thoughtlessly ruined 2 knives and a cutting board without care or apology. Honestly, if she did experience any abuse from her father, who knows? Considering how she throws around the term so easily, then she needs therapy to figure out how to act less like the infantilized child her father made her feel like, and more like an adult with a brain and the ability to use it. She sounds immature to the point that it's better off as someone else's problem. She sounds like an ex-friend I have, and if she's anything like that person, I'd suggest dumping her real fast before she sucks all the joy out of your life and paints you as the villain for all of it. It really sounds like you hit one of her buttons. Something she doesn't have a coping mechanism for yet. Something about what you said and or how you said it took her back to a feeling she got in an abusive situation. And I'm betting she set off something in you about having someone carelessly break your stuff. These can be addressed with serious and honest conversations about how we communicate. And there's tons of good information out there to help you both understand what the other person heard you say, if the relationship is worth the effort. Participant 2, Anti-A. I understand your frustration about her not giving any fucks about the blades having specific purposes, though telling her to use her brain is extremely strong wording and is likely what is provoking her childish mindset now. That being said, Your girlfriend is currently not wanting to own up for her mistakes or ask what's used for what, and that makes her dull. She should know that different blades have different purposes, and even if she didn't, she should have asked, because, I assume, the blades aren't hers. And comparing you to what I assume to be her horrible father is just outright hurtful. Asshole enthusiast. 8. Anti-A. She didn't use her brain, or she wouldn't have used the new knife to open glue, or she would have wiped the knife clean before the glue stuck to it. Calling her out on her behavior like you say you did wasn't abusive. Talk to her about it, because she's upset and she is your girlfriend. But there is no need to apologize for what you said. Whether you should apologize for the tone you used is something you should decide for yourself. Precisely. These guys live together. They should be talking to each other and not just assume things. Personally, at my house I use knives to open everything too. This might make people cringe, but I use the knives from the cooking set, those ceramic ones that come in a set of 5, to open my packages. I never even considered that could be an issue until opening this thread. Mine aren't nice, of course. It's all IKEA. But if my BF got nice once, he would definitely have to warn me about it. Absolutely agree. As a dog groomer, using my $150 shears on things that aren't clean dog hair can destroy them. To my non-groomer brother, picking up the nearest pair of scissors I just got and using them to cut out a piece of paper is no big deal. When he found out they might be messed up, he was super apologetic, but he also had no way of knowing. Op says they laughed it off, but I'm wondering if at any point they said, hey, these are expensive and can't be used for anything other than the food items they're intended for. There's a much nicer way to communicate with someone you care about. Agreed. Both Op and his girlfriend goofed this situation and would really benefit from an open and honest discussion. Ruining the first knife was a mistake. Ruining the second knife by doing something even more careless and after he has expressed that the knives are important to him implies a lack of care and respect for Op's property. But telling someone to use their brain is a massively assholey way to respond to a situation like this. It's crazy how normalized that phase is. We hear it during childhood from parents, teachers, as adults in the workplace, etc. Questioning someone's intelligence or cognitive functioning is a horrible and demeaning response to mistakes that should be addressed through understanding and guidance. But, and I understand why you're upset, need to realize that using abusive behavior such as belittling, insulting isn't going to solve your problem. Agreed. Good thing Op did neither. Sit her down and apologize, but explain why you were upset because the knives were new. Nah, Op should just dump her. Not only she doesn't give two shits about Op's belongings, she actually compared him to her abusive father. There is nothing to apologize for in the first place. When you date people who lack common sense in an area that's obvious to you, that doesn't give you license to speak to them poorly. I love my husband, but he was raised very differently from me. I have twice legit had to stop him from littering in public places. He also can get very angry and loud in a way that isn't really socially appropriate. I don't have license to insult him or be mean towards him because he wasn't raised with the same norms I was. I do get to tell him that I don't approve of X or and won't be treated like Y, and here's why. I do stupid things sometimes. I just learned to drive a stick and my hub will gently point out a correction or hint when I stall out, etc. He knows if he tells me to use my brain it's just going to make me more nervous and I will stall the damn car more, not less. Just because a lot of you are right that she fucked up does not mean she did it on purpose. Maybe she struggles with using common sense. I don't think I used common sense much in life until at least my late 20s. I guess my point is just be kind to people you love. Help them grow in the places they need it. I see a lot of comments arguing in Talmudic detail whether you called her stupid or her actions stupid, and whether what she did was or was not actually stupid. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you said something hurtful to your girlfriend, and you saw that she was hurt, and you didn't apologize. That was a stupid thing to do, and use your brain are both hurtful, shaming things to say, and I'm sure she already felt bad. Also, This kind of framing places you and your girlfriend on opposite teams, instead of you being on the same team against the problem. Apologize to your girlfriend for hurting her feelings, then work together to solve the problem. Find a solvent for the superglue, get a replacement knife, and get some other tools to do things like open coconuts and superglue.